Cue the music.
Another episode of Porch Talk. This is episode 4 on our Boys Join the Porch series. Today we have with us Thomas Burniston, Rusty Yates, and Logan Cantrell. This episode is presented to you by Wyatt pole holders. If you have any fishing pole racks that you'd like to display safely on the floor, or just need a way to get them off the floor, Wyatt pole holders has what you need. Sold on Etsy, he has a nice selection of fishing racks to fit your needs. Pine, oak, poplar, just some of the wood used to craft these beautiful racks. Engravings are also available upon request. Wyatt pole holders has top-notch customer satisfaction, great reviews. His products, as soon as he gets the order, he gets them out quick, and he's willing to work with you on the engravings. Again, we're happy to announce Wyatt pole holders as one of our sponsors. Do you want to throw yours out, or what James
y'all
say?
It. That's what I'm paying you boys for.
Yeah.
I'm not paying you to.
Go ahead, Jamore.
Speaking of that,
Yeah.
if you live in Southwest Virginia, Southern West Virginia, or Eastern Kentucky and find yourself looking for equipment rental, give Cantrell Holdings Equipment Rentals a call at 276-596-3078. They have backhoes, loaders, excavators, and jackhammers available. They also have operator services. Ask about that. Follow their Facebook page and give it a like. Again, that's Cantrell Holdings Equipment Rentals at 276-596-3078.
Perfect. Use code podcast at checkout for 25% off.
Yeah, there you go.
Wish we had a business like that up here.
Hey, well, you need to start one so we can throw
travel.
you on as a sponsor.
They deliver
for you, Thomas.
Yeah.
Will you? All right.
So we have a heck of a lineup here tonight. If you've been watching the podcast, you've seen Logan, you've seen Rusty, and you've seen Thomas on there. So now we got them all together. We're going to try to do a rundown of each of our top 5 teams so far in the college football season. We're approaching on that halfway mark, which is just wild in of itself. I feel like it's flown by. But we're going to touch on that. Then we're going to kind of go through our favorite moments so far on this college football season for each one of us. And then we're going to hit on a few NFL questions. So just to start it out, we'll go ahead and we'll bounce it around. This is the first time we've done this with this many people. So to try to keep the order up as much as possible, we're going to try to just direct it to a certain person, and we'll chime in where we can. So for our rankings so far, we'll go ahead and start off with Rusty. Rusty, you go ahead and start off and tell us your 5 best college football teams so far this year.
Who do you think is going to have number 1?
Alabama.
Oh, and I do want to say this before he starts.
Not going to have number 1.
Yeah. Before he starts, this is our top 5 best teams in our opinion. This is not where we think they should be ranked. We're not worried about no AP or college football playoff ranking or anything like that. It's just our 5 best teams. And we'll get a chance to defend our selections as well. So, Rusty, go ahead.
Well, of course, I'm going to go with Georgia number 1, even though they're probably not the best team right now. I probably wouldn't put them at number 1 if I was going to do a top 4, top 5. Definitely Texas. I think Texas is my number 1 team in the country right now. I think that they've done pretty good this year, so I think I put them at number 1. And then Georgia. And then probably Ohio State. Do Ohio State. And then let's see, who else? I'll probably put Florida State in there. And then throw one out there. I'm gonna put Oregon. I think Oregon's offense is good this year, so I think they're gonna be up there. If they can beat USC later in the year, I think they're gonna be a contender for the college football playoff. That'd be my top 5.
So you had 5 Oregon, 4 was it Florida State, 3 Ohio State, 2 Georgia, and 1 Texas.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Okay. Yeah.
I was not expecting
Logan, what's your top 5?
Did not see that coming.
No,
Yeah.
not a little bit.
Well, I'm literally sit there and said
Yeah.
what we were doing, and he said, "Oh, well, I know that Georgia's probably not the best number one team, but."
I didn't put them at number one. I put Texas at
you
number
were
one.
talking about them first. I just thought you was like, he did
Yeah.
not hear what we just said.
Well, I mean,
And,
if I didn't talk about them first, it wouldn't. I mean, it
I
would
think
just
he has
wouldn't
to
make
take the hat
sense.
off, right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
hear
I'd have
that.
to take
Yeah,
that.
I
definitely.
would, yeah.
Yeah,
Nah.
I'd love to. Logan, what's your top five? We'll just run through everybody's top five, then we'll start hitting on some.
I mean, I hate to be as similar to Rusty as I'm getting ready to be. That really makes me kind of nauseous.
That's why I let you go behind him.
Yeah, I
wanted to
appreciate
see
that.
yeah.
I know we kind of touched on it yesterday in the group, how he feels about Michigan, or maybe that was today, whenever it was. But I'm going to put Michigan at number one. Like we said, they've done what they're supposed to do, unlike a certain SEC team. Whatever.
Yeah, we'll get to that.
I'm going to say Texas at 2.
Okay.
Florida State at 3. Oregon at 4. And Ohio State at 5 for me.
Okay. Ohio State at 5, Oregon at 4.
I held off on throwing Carolina in there. I could have.
I mean,
I shouldn't
undefeated
have,
so
but
far.
I could have.
Undefeated so far. So you had 1 Michigan, 2 you have Texas.
Yep.
Texas, 3 was that Oregon or Ohio State you had?
Oregon,
Ohio State, and then your 5th.
Did I not give you 5?
You did. I was trying to recap them, so I'm trying to keep up with all of them.
What did we say now? Michigan, Texas, Florida State.
Oh, Florida State.
Michigan, Texas, Oregon, Florida State, Ohio State.
Okay, yeah. Okay, so the Florida State's one I missed. Okay.
Maybe I didn't even say Florida State. I don't know. I thought I did.
You're good. You're good. I'll go ahead and I'll throw mine out real quick.
Good. I'm still deciding on mine.
Well, I kind of figured that. I didn't know if y'all were or not. So my top 5, I worked my way from 5 down. One that I think that I'm probably the only one that has them top 5, but my 5th best team is Washington. 4 is Penn State. 3 is Texas. 2 is Ohio State. And 1 is Michigan. So, J. Moore, what do you have on your top 5?
Just real quick, remember that when I said you would surprise me? I had that pick, except for one of those you had, by the way.
I knew you would. I knew you would know that I picked it. Yeah.
The one you threw, we'll talk about it in a minute. Right now, I'm going to go from off a little bit against the grain here, I think. I still think Georgia's the best team. I know they, on like the eye test, they've like patty caked around with some of these teams, but I still think that they're the best team. Are there questions, and are they as good as they were last year? Probably not, but I still take them number 1. Michigan, I have at 2. I have Texas at 3. Florida State at 4. And I have USC at 5. I still think just because they got the best quarterback out of that group, they don't have maybe the best defense, obviously, but I'll take them at 5 right now over I was going to say Oregon instead of Washington, but I'll go USC.
Okay. Thomas, what's your 5?
All right, mine's a little bit different. I'm glad J-Mar said that about Georgia because I was feeling stupid for leaving them in my top 5 after listening to everybody else. But yeah, I'm going to say, I'll start with 5. I got Penn State at 5. I've been pretty impressed. Their defense has been really solid running game. 4, I'm going to go with Oregon. I think they're the best team in the best conference, the Pac-12. 3, I'm going to take Texas, I think. Texas looked really good. Great offense. Then I had Georgia, 2. I'm with J-Mar. I think they still have, their offensive line, their tight ends, they got weapons. Quarterback, Beck's looked solid so far. They've been there. And then I got Michigan number 1. I think Michigan's given up like almost 0 points and scored like 1,000. So
yeah. So I'm going to hit on a few of these hot spots on our rankings because I think we have some things similar. Then I think we also have some things that are pretty different. Mainly our number one, but I think sounds like that we either have either Michigan or Georgia, opposed to Rusty saying Texas. But I think it still begs the question, Michigan or Georgia right now, and you see it in the AP and stuff as well. Out of those two teams, who's looking better so far? Me and Logan both had Michigan. Well, and Thomas all had Michigan at one. I think Thomas spoke to it perfectly when he said the defense right now, they're first in the country, only allowing 6 points. And then the offense has done it. And like Logan said, the offense has done exactly what you expect them to do. I mean, they've not, in my opinion, they've not surprised us with any bad performances. They've done exactly what you'd expect, at least according to AP, the number 2 country, and should do. So, Rusty, what do you feel like as far as the Georgia-Michigan argument? Where do you feel like that Georgia still has the upper hand?
Well, I mean, Georgia has struggled. I mean, of course they have. And what gets me is they've struggled against teams they shouldn't have struggled against. Offensively, we've had key injuries out all year. I mean, our number one receiver, aside from Brock Bowers, he's a tight end, of course, but he was our number one guy last year. Lad McConkey just came back, and he's been working off an injury all year. So, bringing him back this past week was a big deal. But you could tell he wasn't comfortable at all. So, Michigan looks good against teams that nobody's, but they also have a lot of guys that come back from last year. So they're comfortable with that offense. That team just comfortable, so they're going to score points. But when they play against somebody that, that's going to put them up against the wall, I'm curious to see what's going to happen when they play somebody like Ohio State. Georgia's still figuring it out, and who knows if we'll even figure it out. Carson Beck had one start before this season, so hopefully we figure it out. But Carson Beck looks good, but he doesn't look great. That's the difference maker. So hopefully Mike Bobo can do something offensively. And Dejon Edwards, our running back, he looks solid, but we also have struggled with our core of running backs, because before the season we had Branson Robinson, who he's out for the season, and then we had Cash Jones. He's a solid guy, but he's more of a receiving running back, so we pull him in some, and he's done okay. But Dejon Edwards can't do it all, so hopefully we can figure it out. But
so, I'm going to throw this to Logan now. I don't mean to be this guy, so it sounds like you just gave me a lot of reasons why that I wouldn't feel comfortable putting him at number one. So, Logan, do you think that the hope that he has for Georgia, do you think that outweighs the lack of competition that Michigan has had this year? Where do you see that matchup? I guess on paper, not necessarily head to head, but as far as their body of work so far this year.
Well, I know Georgia, they lost a lot, and they haven't looked great this year. But as much as I hate to say it, until you knock them off, they went back to back the last 2 years. They're not playing like they should right now, but in that situation, they've done it before. So it's just a wait and see whenever the schedule turns from cupcake to what would you say, maybe a medium cooked steak.
Yeah.
I have a question.
Yeah. I was getting ready to throw it to you because I think you're thinking the exact same thing that I'm.
Well, I don't know, maybe Rusty. Who was in your top 5, Rusty?
I had Texas, Georgia, Ohio State, Florida State, and Oregon.
Okay. So you dropped Michigan out for the same reasons that you just said that Georgia shouldn't be in. So why didn't you leave Michigan? How'd you decide that? That's what I'm curious about.
Michigan hasn't played anybody.
Well, Georgia's not either.
No, but we've won 2 back-to-back national championships. Our caliber players are better. I mean,
Okay.
until somebody knocks us off, I mean, it's kind of hard to
That's pretty
pull
good
us
money.
out of the top 5.
I agree. I just thought that was you dropped Michigan all the way out of your top 5 was interesting. That's
I mean, they're definitely if there was a top 10, I mean, they're definitely in the top 10. They play Ohio State or somebody, then okay.
What I think happened is if Cameron and Rusty didn't argue about this earlier, then he'd have Michigan in the top 5.
He would.
No,
For sure.
No,
we're not.
I was just
No.
and also who'd you have number 1?
Texas.
So okay, well, never mind. Okay, I got you.
Oh, yeah,
so
they
you
got that Bama win.
So just on paper, you're thinking that
They're
Texas
good
looks
this
better
year.
than Georgia, right? That's why you dropped Georgia down.
Yeah.
And you just wanted to be different. I feel like, right? Because you're a Georgia fan, you didn't want us to give you crap. I think
If I didn't put them in my top 5, I mean, clearly
not in the top 5. I mean, the reason you had to move them to the 1, or we'd give you crap over. I think probably so.
I mean, we're definitely not number 1. The way we played is not number 1.
Okay.
I mean, Thomas said it. We had this conversation 10 hours ago.
Yeah. So I wanted to. I wanted to go ahead and get it out of the way because I knew it would be the hot topic of the day. I struggled with not putting them in there, and my thought process was I could put them in there because of what they've done the past 2 years, but then I'm thinking you can make the same argument for Alabama, and some of these other teams that are we going to judge all of them based on the past few years? Now, at the same time, I have mentioned that Michigan, that's a strong suit for them because of what they done last year and the people they're bringing back. But I think that argument can be made for Michigan, but you also see it translate on the field. They've shown up and they have played like the team they were the past 2 years. But with that being said, my conclusion is that if I'm going to do the 5 best teams, I can't be tied down to what I think Georgia should be. And I just think there's 5 other teams that are better. And, I'm going to go ahead and turn it a little bit now to the Pac-12 because we all kind of floated in Oregon, USC, and United Washington. So for me personally, I threw Washington in there only because it's Oregon and Washington at 5 and 6 in my mind. And I gave Washington the slight edge because of Oregon's struggles last week against Stanford. A Stanford team that, I mean, they've been terrible this year. And so I just think that if you start slow against a team like Washington, which I think you can because their defense is pretty good, that you're going to get behind. So that was me, I guess, defending Washington. But, Jay Moore, you had USC in there, and then we'll bounce around to the people that had Oregon. But why do you think USC is a top 5 team above the other Pac-12?
I think their struggles with Colorado was a little bit of people kind of overreacted to that score. Just like people maybe overreacted to Oregon beating them as bad. I think a lot of week to week, different matchups will allow for more success against certain teams. I don't think it means you're necessarily because obviously I don't think Oregon's 48 points better than USC. They very well could be a better team, but I think if you look at matchups, sometimes we tend to overreact. And basically just because I had them up there at the beginning of the year and they've not done anything to sway me yet. And they have Caleb Williams still, mainly is the main reason I have them over. But and a little bit of experience there too. I mean, which obviously Oregon's quarterback's got experience, but he's also been in college for 15 years. So Washington would be my kind of dark horse thing if I had to pick one, just because I think their defense is better than the other two's. But I don't know that their offense could keep up. But again, it's just a matchups thing, really. That's the only reason I went with it. And I picked them earlier. If I'd have picked one of the others earlier or somebody else besides USC early in the year, I probably wouldn't. May have dropped them out, but that's why I did it.
Yeah. Thomas, no, you had Oregon at what, 3?
No, I think I had them at 4.
4, but you had them as your top team out of the Pac-12, right?
Yeah, I did. Yeah, when I look at it, comparing them to USC and Washington, yeah, he mentioned Washington's defense might be a little bit better than USC's, but Washington gave up 24 to Stanford last week and 32 to Cal the week before that. I don't know. I'm not really impressed with Washington's defense either.
I didn't know that, by the way.
That boy
Yeah.
done his homework.
I did not know
Yeah,
they give up
because,
that many
like,
points to Cal.
Yeah, because Stanford, they only beat by a touchdown, I think, and Stanford, or no, Arizona's who it was, but Arizona beat Stanford by 1 point. And you were talking about how bad uh, Stanford was earlier. So I don't know. I haven't been that impressed with Washington as you. I think Penix is an awesome quarterback, but when I look at Oregon, I think the Colorado win. You look at how like they handled Colorado start to finish versus how USC handled Colorado start to finish, and I think Oregon has not really done much wrong so far. They haven't been giving up a whole lot of points. They've been scoring a ton. So I just really like Oregon out of that conference.
Yeah, and you also had Oregon, I think, didn't you, Logan? What have
Yeah,
you
I think I
seen
had
from them
3.
so far that you like?
Well, no, I get what Jamar's saying about USC. There's probably not that big of a difference between USC and Oregon, but
Right.
and Caleb Williams is Caleb Williams. I mean, he's really good, but we watched it 1 week after the next, and I mean, it was a pretty big difference in what happened in the game. Now, you're right about matchups and stuff, but I mean, just about what we saw so far, that's what the list was about. And Oregon was really impressive against Colorado, and USC was not so impressive. Caleb Williams or not.
Yeah, I mean, I'm on the Caleb Williams train 100%.
Yeah, I mean,
I think he's the best player in the
he's
country.
really good.
And I ain't gonna lie. I mean, I'm not saying anything bad about Drake. I think Drake's just offensive coordinator and stuff. I think y'all have a new OC, right?
Yeah, it's been rough.
Yeah,
Which,
so it's working.
It's working well, but it's just they just threw the Heisman out the window whenever they started handing the ball off. But it's fine.
Yeah, so I think that's where I definitely. I mean, I probably would have threw Caleb over there as far as the Heisman goes ahead of him anyway. But he's done everything that you'd expect him to do and more. The reason why I had Washington up there, so you said they had played Stanford.
It was Arizona.
Arizona. Yeah. I was gonna say they did win by 7 to Arizona, but they had won before that margins of 37, 33, 38, and 27.
Yeah.
They were all FBS opponents. I know they weren't the top notch of cream of the crop, but I think that they were one of those teams in my mind that the Arizona game was a little bit of an odd one, but I think we can say like Oregon's odd one was Stanford as well. But I mean, and the crazy thing is we're not even talking about Oregon State, and I know we're talking about top 5, but I think Oregon State could beat USC, Oregon, Washington. Especially the style difference where they slow it down, play strong defense, they can run the ball, and Utah's the same way. And you put that up against teams like USC, Washington, Oregon, like Jamar said, styles and stuff. I mean, it could really affect the game. But just going from that to another team that we all have, or I think most of us had, is Texas. So far as what we have seen this year, Texas has had an impressive win against Alabama, and then they beat Kansas, that was ranked this past week. I think that Texas, their biggest thing this year, I know everybody might think, okay, it's Quinn and the quarterback play has been great, but I think it's their defense because I think they had good quarterback play last year. I know he was struggling hitting some down the field shots, but their defense didn't hold up. But this year, it's I think I want to say it's 12th best in the country, and that's pretty impressive given how the Big 12 is and the way they move the ball around. But for me, I had to put Texas up there because the body of work and the defense and the running back. He had a heck of a game last week, so they got more than just the quarterback. So as far as Texas, what's your opinion on them, Jamar?
I mean, everything. I hate to echo what you just said, but basically, that's. I mean, you got obviously your quarterback solid, and he's not gonna. He ain't like flashy. It might not be the word to call him, but he's not going to go up and down. He's going to get very consistent play from him, and it's usually going to be on the better side, obviously. But I think their defense is kind of under the radar. Maybe not like. I'm sure it gets mentioned, but I think it's better maybe than what people actually think. I just think I don't think they're like you wouldn't be like a lock in to get in the playoffs. But I think I think they're overall a very, very good team. But at this point in the year, I don't see anybody nobody jumps out at me as being a guaranteed thing yet. So I mean,
No.
you don't have that, which is I think makes it a lot of fun. But I can't really come up with any reasons you hadn't already covered with Texas other than that, and they're in the Big 12, and the Big 12 is down this year, so they're not going to have as many hurdles as some of these others, especially the Pac-12 and the Big 10 is going to have.
Yeah, I think that your biggest hurdle is this Saturday against Oklahoma. And Rusty, you have them at 1. So how do you think they get past Oklahoma this Saturday and then keep it up? I mean, you have them 1. I'm not saying that you're saying they're going to win the championship because we're just judging off of what they looked like so far. But how are you defending the number 1 ranking you're giving?
Man, I think Texas is I think they'll pull it out. I mean, like y'all said, I mean, they're a complete team. I mean, offensively, defensively. I mean, other than, they allowed Bama to score some points. I mean, they really come out and showed out each game. And, beating Bama, people can say what they want to, but that's impressive. So, I think they beat Oklahoma.
What's that game called, Cam, this weekend?
It's a shootout.
I was getting ready to ask you that.
Yeah, the shootout. Something like
rivalry,
that.
Isn't it?
Yeah.
Red
kind of rivalry.
Yeah, red. Yeah. So
that's the first part. What's the rest?
Yeah. So another
this is a serious podcast, Cameron. Tell people what this
is. One of the teams that I don't have in there, and I think maybe the rest of you did. Maybe I can't remember if Tom did or not, but Florida State.
I had Florida State.
Okay, so me and Thomas, I think, is the only ones who didn't. For me, my biggest question, I'm obviously splitting hairs with some of these teams. I'd still have them in the top 10. But is Florida State, are they as good as what we think? Because I think LSU begs the question, were they as good as what we thought? Since then, Florida State has struggled. I think it was week 2 or week 3 to get started. They eventually won that game. And then they won against Clemson, but it was a close one. So, Thomas, why didn't you have Florida State in yours?
Honestly, it was nothing that they've done as much as it was. I just really like the other teams that I mentioned. But yeah, the teams. I think the teams they've beaten. I think they're not quite as good as we expected them to be. Looking at who they played, but yeah, that was the biggest reason. Like you said, I mean, I have them top 6 or 7, but I was just more impressed with the other teams ahead of them. But they've looked solid. They've impressed me. I actually thought that they would be a team that dropped farther back as the season went along. I thought they'd lose to Clemson, LSU, or whatever. But they've looked good. They've been really solid. I just like the other teams more.
Yeah. So they you're talking about the schedule. So I was wrong. It wasn't week 2. They actually killed Southern Miss week 2, but it was week 3. They won by 2 against Boston College, and then they won by 7 in overtime against Clemson. And they got Tech this Saturday. But Logan, why do you have them up there in your top 5?
Well, I mean, they've been doing what they're supposed to do. Yeah, they struggled with Boston College, and that was kind of a surprise. But they won the LSU game pretty handily after I think they kind of pulled away in the second half.
Yeah.
The Clemson game, they came back. They were down. They were down at halftime, I think, or right before halftime. Kind of like I said earlier, you know what you're supposed to do, and if you do it, I think that's why I would put them in that list.
Yeah, I think that that's important because with expectations, it comes pressure, and you're also you're growing within that. And some teams, like one we mentioned earlier, I don't know they've lived up to the expectations so far.
But even still, it's still LSU and Clemson.
Oh yeah,
they're down, but I mean, it's still the name on the helmet matters.
Yeah, it definitely does.
Florida State also had some players out against Boston College, and there was 17 miles per hour winds or something crazy that day. Like that's not an easy place to go play anytime. I don't care how bad they are.
Game neutralizers.
Yeah, and But as far as Clemson and all that, like the teams they've beat, I mean, like Logan said, it's still SEC and it's LSU. And from week to week, I mean, it's just you can't really look. Like I said, I hate. I mean, it's about all you have to go on is comparing these things. But I don't think LSU losing to, who they've lost to, I don't think they should get penalized that much for LSU losing. The Clemson one, maybe they probably should have took care of them a little more. But I mean, that's
Right, Florida State.
yeah,
right.
but it's on the road, and like it's still Clemson, still Dabo. Like it's not they're up for that one, I'm sure. Like it means a little more to them probably than normal. And just come out of there with the win and you didn't play very well. I think it says more about how good they are too. Also at the same time, but they have. I did expect them to take care of Clemson a little more than they did. So I mean, I can see the argument there also at the same time.
Yeah. I mean, I agree with everything you're saying, and a lot of this, like you said, halfway through the season, and even Boston College, that's a hard place to play. But beginning of the year, that's when you're going to get, I think, a lot of your surprising upsets because teams are still figuring out who they are. Some of them haven't been battle tested yet. Sometimes you get hit in the mouth and you don't know how to respond.
Let's just say they're lucky they're not coming to Blacksburg Saturday.
No, that game's going to be.
They're lucky. They'll find. They drop out of my top 5 real quick if they come to take and lost.
No, I wish they'd drop everybody's top 10, maybe.
They kick them out of college football.
I drop them to D2.
Start basketball season.
Hey, Tech had a good win this past weekend. I didn't expect that against Pitt.
Any win, Russ is a good win, but that was.
Yeah, that's true.
I think I lost money on
Georgia.
Yeah, we can't even bet on. Not, it's probably a good thing, but we can't bet on Virginia teams down here. So.
Yeah,
you can't bet on Virginia teams.
I don't think you can.
No, you can't in Virginia. I don't know if you noticed that.
I haven't.
Not. That's wild.
Now that you mentioned it, I haven't. Yeah, you're right. Tech's never on the
Tech, UVA, JMU, Liberty. Yeah, all those. So,
Interesting.
I'm just going to talk about one more thing before we go into our next segment on this. The Big Ten, we mentioned Michigan, but then you also have 2 teams that I think we both have sprinkled, well, all of us have sprinkled in our top 5, and that's Penn State and Ohio State. For me personally, it's hard. I mean, I have 3 teams in my top 5. And if y'all watched one of the first episodes that me and Jamar did, I had a hard time not putting 3 teams in my preseason, or 3 Big Ten teams in my preseason college Final Four. Penn State to me has looked very impressive. They are young, but when it comes to what they've done on defense, they're 3rd in the country in defense. They're number 1 in yards allowed, and they're number 1 on your turnover differential. I think they can control the game on the ground. The quarterback fits the system. They got NFL caliber players all on that defense at every level. And they have the best tackle in football right now. He'll probably be a top, 2-3 pick. I don't have them over Ohio State only because they are young and they haven't went over that hump yet of beating them. Ohio State, though, in my opinion, they're a quarterback away from being my undisputed number 1. And McCord's not bad. It's just, he's not what we're used to seeing there. But I still have them up there because their defense is playing significantly better than it has the past few years. It's one of the top defenses in the country. It's already been tested against Sam Hartman. On offense, though, besides McCord, you got a heck of a running back in Henderson, and you got 2 great receivers, and I think Buka and Marvin Harrison Jr. So that's why I have them where I do. So Thomas, I know you was also, I think, the only other one that had Penn State in your top 5. What do you think about them and the top of the Big Ten?
Yeah, and I went back and forth. I think me leaving Ohio State's probably the most questionable thing about my top 5 is leaving them out of it. I think I just always expect Ohio State's offense to be the game changer, to have that explosive offense. And this year I just haven't really seen. I mean, I think they scored like 60 points one week, but against Notre Dame, they had like under 20. I think they've had under 20 maybe a couple of times, but yeah, they just haven't been as explosive as I'm used to seeing. So I think that's the reason why I took Penn State over them. I just think Penn State, the system is almost like that fail-proof, like Alabama type system where they're going to run it well. They got good offensive line. They're not going to let you score. They're going to like the quarterback doesn't make mistakes. Like he's not doing anything special, but I think that's just winning football that Penn State's playing, and I really like it. I went back and forth on putting them ahead of Oregon too, but yeah, I'm really big on Penn State so far this year.
Their system sounds a lot like Michigan's in a way. So, Logan, I know you had Ohio State up there. I know you didn't have Penn State in there. How do you think that Big Ten is shaping up at the top? Minus Michigan, because I feel like we already established where Michigan is in our minds.
Yeah, I mean, I think you said it's Michigan's conference right now. After that, maybe you could go with Penn State over Ohio State. Now I'm kind of second guessing because I'm not going to second guess. I'm not going to second guess it, but Ohio State, their quarterback does not look good. I mean, he's no C.J. Stroud.
No, or Justin Fields, or
So I mean, if they can get that lined out, then they could become what we're used to from that Ohio State offense. And even if they can't, having a guy like Marvin Harrison Jr. to throw it to, no matter how bad you are, if you can get it close, he's going to go get it.
100%.
But like I said, if they can figure it out, they'll be okay.
Yeah, I mean, I think that the quarterback question is definitely the one that we're all going to have, especially for Ohio State. Rusty, you had Ohio State in your top 5, correct? Mm-hmm. Where did you have them at? Was it 3?
Yeah,
3. Yeah, so how do you feel about them so far playing in the year?
I think their defense is dominant. I mean, honestly, when they played Notre Dame, I mean, I really expected Ohio State to score more, but I mean, the way they contained Sam Hartman, I mean, Sam Hartman's one of the better quarterbacks in the country, and the way Notre Dame was just coming out and blowing past people before that game, it was surprising how good Ohio State's defense was, and it kind of showed me. I was like, okay. So I think that's going to make a difference at the end of the year when they play a team like Michigan or Penn State. So, yeah, I mean, their offense has not been the greatest, but like y'all said, I mean, you got the best receiver in the country to throw to, and I mean, he hasn't let them down yet. So that's how I feel about it.
Yeah, you got 2 good receivers there. I mean, both of them are great.
Yeah, I would like to say I fact-checked myself. They've only been under 20 once. They scored 23 against Indiana. That's what I was thinking. So that's 2 times I've lied on this podcast.
Yeah. Don't fact-check yourself. This is not Rogan. You don't have to fact-check yourself.
Yeah. Jamar, just to close out this section, so your top 5 have Ohio State in it. It didn't, did it? And it didn't have Penn State. So, where I did have Michigan. So what do you think about those 2 teams? Is it more of just you think they're going to fall, or do you think they lack something, or is it just that they are not better than those 5 that you have?
I'll start with Ohio State. They shouldn't have beat Notre Dame. I know you woulda, shoulda, coulda, but Notre Dame lost that game more than Ohio State won. They made plays at the end, but I don't know what would have happened if they'd had 11 players on the field. They might not have stopped it still, but
yeah, 2 straight plays.
Yeah, I mean,
twice.
So
I mean, he got in by an inch.
Yeah,
only had 10 players.
So,
out there, so.
I mean, I don't know. I think Notre Dame's. I think they lost. So that's not the only reason. I'm not that impressed with them. They just don't. I don't know. They don't do that eye test for me. That quarterback, I'm not real big on him.
Yeah.
I'm not saying he's terrible, but to have them in top 5, I don't think they're that good a team. Penn State is one that I could say I could put up there. I almost think it's one of those things where they haven't played anybody yet. I don't think, like maybe Iowa might be the only ranked team they played. West Virginia's not bad, but I mean, that was earlier in the year before West Virginia kind of got playing better. And I don't know that Iowa's really that good either. I mean, they got a good defense, I think, but they can't score any points. So Penn State's got a great defense, so that helps a lot. I mean, I don't think they've been tested enough to put them up there yet, which you could say the same about Michigan, I guess, technically too. But Michigan, like somebody said on here already, Michigan won last year. Same way with Georgia. We know what you're getting. So when it comes down to who's not won the eye test for me because they ain't really anybody played anybody much, I'm going to go with Michigan. Now, granted, Ohio State did play Notre Dame, who was ranked, and it was a very good team, so I get that. But maybe I'm biased because I hate Ohio State, but I don't think they just don't do it for me. I don't think they're as good as they usually are. Which we'll find out because, like I said, they're all going to kind of eliminate each other here. Because you said you wanted to put 3 Big Ten schools in your playoff. I'm not sure how you're going to do the math on who had to lose and how they're all going to make it, but that's what you were talking about doing in the first show. But
and
he had to work out the kinks in that first show. It's fine.
I'm not about that. Totally opposed to having 3 in there at the end now.
But how? How are they going to? I mean, not enough teams are going to lose. I don't think
you'd have to have it play out to where each team lost each team one time. Because Penn State plays them both, Ohio State plays them both,
and you'd have to have 4 other teams lose at least. You know what I mean?
Which I think is possible. I think that Texas has a chance this week. I think Oklahoma is a very good team that people are overlooking. I think that, where you look at past that, Florida State, I think they're vulnerable to a degree. I'm not sure, like you said earlier, I don't think we have one dominant team that is just going to blow everybody away this year.
And the other aspect that we talked about on that first podcast, they're not going to do that anyway. The committee's not
that's
3.
That would be the outside thing that, the committee might not allow that because of it being favoritism to the Big Ten or whatever.
It's money, not favoritism. It's money from
money.
That's what it's about.
You want to know honestly my biggest problem with Penn State?
Huh?
Was that Logan?
You said you want to know my biggest problem with Penn State? Where Matt Rule went to college.
Oh, so now we figure it out.
It's just
that makes sense.
I don't like Penn State. I don't like Temple. I don't like Baylor. I don't like Nebraska.
Well, at the rate we're going, you might have the same feelings for the coach you have now. But we're gonna get into that here in a little bit.
Yeah,
we're running out of teams to hate.
Yeah.
Yeah. What I was starting to say was I think we were talking about like Bama and Georgia and Clemson and about how like we put those teams higher because of the name on the jersey. But I think for me, I like subconsciously do it the opposite with Ohio State because I'm so used to them being so dominant on offense, and that they're not. I just see them as like a disappointment so far.
Yeah,
because that's what I've come to expect. Yeah,
yeah. But I think. Now of course the jury's still out on the quarterback. I think he had a decent game the other day, but like Logan mentioned, he's not Stroud. But at the same time, if you can get decent quarterback play out of him to where he's not making turnovers and you still have the weapons you have and you have the defense that you have. I'm not a Ohio State fan, but I would assume that the past few years you might take that because it was a defense that cost you some of these games. But things are still going to play out, and McCord might end up being a lot worse than what we're thinking, or he might end up being better. I don't know that he's going to be better just because if you have those weapons, you're probably already going to be putting up numbers. That's probably the best supporting cast that any quarterback in the country has. You have a receiver that could win the Heisman. You got a running back that, probably on any other team could win the Heisman.
That receiver duo they have is probably the best 1-2 receiver in the country.
The best, yeah.
I don't know any other team that can have those 2 guys that good. I might be not thinking of somebody, but right off the top of my head, I can't think of a better combo than anybody else has.
Yeah. We'll just kind of close that out as far as our top teams. I wanted to kind of, just because I'm interested in everybody's personal view on the season, I wanted to kind of bounce around and ask everybody's favorite moment this season has been special so far just because you see teams like Florida State, Texas, and them kind of getting back into the picture, as well as teams like Alabama kind of stepping back, and Georgia, even though they haven't lost, there's vulnerability that we haven't seen in the past 2 years. And I think add that in with the fact that you have teams on the West Coast start playing better, and you have the rise of Deion Sanders, their rival of Deion Sanders, I should say. So TD ratings have been going insane for college football this year, and so I'm interested to hear everybody's favorite moment of the season so far. I'll just go ahead and throw mine out
I'll be
there.
right back.
Go ahead. Maybe I'm just trying to be different because I know that everybody's going to struggle not to have Deion on this. But for me, my number one moment of the season so far was Week 1, Duke upsetting Clemson. Even though the game is one that I did not predict, and I think it ruined some of my parlays, that game completely came out of left field for me because I thought that Clemson was going to be back. They were preseason top defense, according to a lot of experts, and their defense is still playing good, well, to a degree, not to their standard. But I thought with Cade coming back again, he'd be more comfortable. I thought with the OC coming over, Garrett Riley from TCU, they just blow up again. And instead Duke showed what they had. Their quarterback, Leonard, he is great kid. I mean, I think he did get hurt the other night. I'm not sure to the extent of that injury yet. But with that being said, that was great for that school, the football team, to get that. I know you all probably disagree because we got a lot of UNC fans on here. But for me, that was my number one moment of the season because, it kicked off college football. And, it kicked off what we love about college football. So, for me, that was it. Thomas, what do you have so far for your top moment?
I'm going to take mine in a different direction.
Okay.
Because my favorite part of college football Saturdays is watching Pat McAfee on College Game Day.
Ooh, yeah.
So I think I'd have to say my favorite moment is him getting beef started between Lou Holtz and Ryan Day.
Yes.
Unintentionally, because Lou Holtz just had no clue what was going on.
Yeah. I never thought of that. That's a perfect one.
That's really good.
I think that's my favorite.
Yeah. And the crazy thing is that that's still going. It's still going back and forth, and it's almost like the you could almost make the argument if Ohio State keeps winning, it might be because of Lou Holtz, because they're kind of rallying around that.
And Lou Holtz was like, I didn't even know people were going to watch that.
Yeah.
He was just completely oblivious to the whole situation.
Yeah. Well, he said that one thing about having dementia is you can say whatever you want, and then you can just say that you forgot about saying it.
It's the gift that keeps on giving. That's my number one for sure.
Yeah, and I will say that it is kind of funny in a way that Ryan Day was like, it's Ohio against the world, when Ohio State is one of the biggest college football brands. If not, I actually think it is the number one as far as fan size and stuff in all of sports, or at least all of college sports. Ohio State's number one. Has been ranked that for years. So for it to be Ohio against the world, it kind of cracks me up.
Yeah.
Rusty, what do you have so far as your college football moment? I know it's probably not any of the Georgia games so far.
Because it surprises me that we win. But no. Honestly, probably Bama getting beat by Texas. That was pretty nice. And I just hate Bama. That's just how it is. Like, when they lose, it feels good. And Texas is back, I guess. So I was happy that they came out and they won, because last year it was super close. And then Bama pulled it out. So I'm glad Texas won this year.
Yeah, I think that was
like a true little brother.
Yeah. Yeah. Back to back.
Texas was going to be my second one. I almost put that. I think that was a big game for them, given the fact that they lost last year, and it was okay. The question was, what would have happened if Ewers didn't get hurt? But I know they don't have Bryce this year, but still, they got to come back and redeem themselves a little bit. And like you said, Texas is back for the moment. So we get a huge college football brand back in the picture again.
It feels right.
I think that's
Feels like 2005 again.
Yeah.
well. We'll see.
Maybe.
You're getting Logan excited over here.
No, he just
Special
yelled
year.
for some reason. It's busting my eardrums. It's fine. Just
So Logan,
voice
what's
is
your college football moment of the year so far?
Well, like you said, I mean, you could easily go Dion, anything surrounding Dion, and I'm just going to throw an honorable mention out there. The Oregon's coach pregame speech.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
That was sick.
Mhm.
Killer.
They're playing for clicks. We're playing for wins, and this game's
Yeah.
not played in Hollywood. It's played on grass. That's a bar.
That's awesome.
that was almost my number one.
Like, I mean, that's wonderful. That's what
You
it's
know
all about.
he was in the mirror all morning. Like,
Oh yeah, he had practiced that before. That was not the first time he said that.
Yeah, he has to have like teenage or 20-year-old sons that like helped him come up with that.
Like I said,
he didn't come up with that.
Nah, that was sick.
Yeah.
I'm gonna do a little recency bias here. The only person in this group I think that watched this game last Saturday, because everybody else was just left me hanging. But Ole Miss and LSU, that was a classic. That was an absolute shootout to the end. It was. I'm blowing the group up trying to get everybody's attention, and everybody's just ignoring me like I'm Rusty.
Yeah,
just a great game. You knew it was whoever had the ball last was going to win. Just what you think of when you think of college football. Just like I said, an instant classic.
Yeah, that was my third. Like, I almost put that up there, but I didn't think that I could put it in there given the fact I hadn't watched the whole game like you did. So I'm glad you did put it up there, though.
Like I said in the group, it was one of those games where even if the team you bet on didn't win, it was still a good game. Just that's how good the game was. I wouldn't have been mad if Ole Miss didn't win.
Yeah, and I mean that was a huge win for Lane Kiffin.
Mm-hmm.
I know that LSU had struggles, but like you all said before, it's sometimes the name on the jersey, and for him to get that top 25 win, that was impressive because they just had, I guess you could say, choked it away the week before.
Yep.
I mean, I hate to say it like that, but that's how it was against Alabama. They choked it. Then, the fact that Lane has been, I think he's like 8-22 before this game against top 25 teams in his stints at, I think, USC and Tennessee and now. So for him to get that, I mean, it could be a turning point in the season. I don't want to say turning point as if they're playing bad, but sometimes to get that win,
get over the hump.
Get over the hump, take you to the next level. And I think they need that little bit of a push because they're kind of feeling like this year's LSU, to where LSU last year, lost early in the season and they got hot at the end, and then they were a team nobody wanted to play. I feel like that could kind of be Ole Miss this year, and especially with Junkins.
He's really good.
Oh, he's very good, and he was one of the top running backs in the country last year. He had battled injuries all year so far. I don't think he had 60 yards until this past Saturday, and he blew up. Had a heck of a game.
He's one of those guys that just runs mean.
Oh, yeah.
He looks like he's like punishing the ground when he runs.
And there's certain guys that, some of them have the size, like Derrick Henry or your, Trent Richardson, the way he was before. I don't think that Judkins even has like that overwhelming size as much as, like you said, he just he has that it factor. Like, he gets the ball, that he's going to get positive yardage.
Dog.
Yeah, dog. Well, Jamar's not in here yet to give his top moment. So just, I'll kind of throw something out there just to keep us rolling until he gets there. I think his favorite moment would probably be Dion, but for the lack of us not having Dion in there at all, I will say that the moment against Colorado State, that game, even though it was close, I mean, the lead up that week, the game itself, the injury, I mean, there's a lot of storylines from that game that are still going on today. just this past week, Travis Hunter actually had the guy that hit him and hurt him, Blackburn, on his little podcast. Well, I won't say podcast, on his little streaming site, whatever it is. I don't know.
But podcaster.
Yeah, he did. I mean, he's got a thing that he does. And he actually had a sit-down talk with him and then went and hung out with him just to help the guy out as far as all these death threats and stuff. So, I guess I just want to kind of touch on that game. Is that still maybe the biggest game of the year so far, just as far as like storylines and as far as viewership? I mean, not on the field play, even though it was good too. But what did y'all think about that game, Thomas?
I mean, yeah, it's probably the biggest as far as like lasting effect goes. I think the Oregon Colorado game I felt like was bigger going into it because it was expected to be a closer game. But yeah, the lasting effect of the Colorado State, I would say, is the biggest. But yeah, I would like to say it's really cool of Travis Hunter to do that. I wouldn't have.
No,
I know Jamar wouldn't have.
I mean, I've seen like unnecessary hits, and that was pretty egregious there. So I wouldn't have been so quick to. I mean, nobody should receive like death threats over a game, but I wouldn't have been so quick to just be buddy with him.
No, that's really stand up by him.
Yeah, it's maybe set some kind of some example of Deion's.
But, I mean, that's what
coaching.
Deion's. Yep, that's his whole thing. He's coaching up. Got these guys to be men.
Yeah, it's amazing.
People
really, to
still
watch.
hate him.
I don't understand how, but
it's a very specific demographic.
It's a lot of it is the fact that he's on TV all the time. I think that it's just one of those things that you're on there all the time. You get some haters, I guess.
No, I mean he's one of those guys. He's a love or hate guy. I just don't know how you could be on the hate side of that.
No. Jamar, we've all bounced around as far as our favorite moments so far during this college football season. I went with Duke beating Clemson. Rusty went with Texas is back, them beating Alabama. Logan, you went with what'd you go with again?
Ole Miss LSU.
Yeah. This past Saturday night's game
that nobody watched other than me.
Yeah, the LSU Ole Miss game, and then Thomas went with the feud between Ryan Day and Lou Holtz on Pat McAfee's show, being his favorite. So, what's your favorite moment so far of the college football season?
Nobody went with Tech beating Pitt last week.
I knew it. I started to say it before you came back.
I didn't get to watch it, so I mean,
yeah.
So nobody went with the Colorado thing either, I guess.
Well, everybody had the same idea. I think we were all trying to not spam.
That's
Colorado.
what
you can go with.
Well, I mean, I don't.
Answers.
There's not been any other. I mean, that's what I was trying to figure out too earlier. I was like, the obvious answers, Deion being at Colorado, but I don't know if that's just I don't know. That's like a easy answer, I guess. But there's really nothing else I can think of necessarily other than, I guess, I think Florida State maybe being back. I think that's good for college football. I'm not really a Florida State fan, obviously, but I used to love Bobby Bowden. So I mean, just to have them back and being relevant like that is I think it's good. I think it helps, balance the ACC out more. It's just better when you have more teams in a conference that can, compete for that. It makes it more interesting. So I guess I would go with that without being like obvious about Colorado and Deion. But I agree with what y'all said about Deion. Anybody that's negative towards him, it's just people who are looking for things to judge, and that's all that is. You can't really find anything unless you you can little flaws here and there, you maybe like personality traits that aren't your favorite, but to say anything actually, there's nothing there bad enough to where you should actually say anything bad about him. That's just you're being really, really, and ain't no other way other than just say you're just being you're judging somebody for little things that you shouldn't. I mean,
Yeah.
I mean, overconfident might be the only real thing you can say about him. People might not like that, but I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. He's not arrogant, overconfident. He's just a confident person. I mean, that's how he is. If I was
Yeah.
him, I'd be that confident too. If you've been that successful, I mean,
Right.
For
If
sure.
anybody can be confident,
Yeah.
it's a professional athlete in two sports. Like,
yeah, they're lucky he's not a real a-hole. I mean, to be as successful as he is, like, he could be very, very, very bad as far as that goes if he wanted to be. But to
Y'all wouldn't
be,
handle me if I was Dion.
but to be as to be as humble as he is, and and honest about things as he is, and to like Logan said, he's not there just to win. And I believe him when he says that he's not there just to win football games. He wants to, give them guys a better future and turn them into people that when they get done with football are going to be good men and succeed in something else if it's not football. So, but yeah, I guess Florida State being back in the conversation will be my moment.
Yeah, and I think that's a great one too. That was one of my top ones, or in my list. Just to speak on the Dion thing for a minute. Yes, he is expressive. Yes, he is confident, but it's well documented, and he has spoke on it numerous times that he's changed his life a lot since when he was playing. He used to party and he used to do all the things that some of these top players do. And he spoke on it openly. And I'm not going to go into all that stuff. I mean, if anybody wants to listen to it, just go Google it. But people think this is bad. If Dion, that was the Dion when he was playing, was coaching right now, people would, they would hate him.
I think I'd like him even more.
For sure.
Yeah. I mean,
Sure.
He probably would have stormed into Coach Lansing's post-game speech there. I mean, he probably would have heard the pre-game speech, and even after the game, probably would have just stormed into the post-game locker room talk. I mean, I don't know. You just never know how Dion used to be.
He wouldn't have got there fast because I don't know how he.
Yeah.
The fact that he can get around as good as he can with what he's been through with his foot is like.
Oh yeah.
I mean, it's been documented, obviously, and everybody knows, but you don't really think about it until it gets. You see pictures or gets brought back up. If you just see him out there. And if you've seen that, if y'all seen that documentary and seen that foot, it's wild. What he went through that injury. Yeah, I mean, it was. It's a good documentary on that. I think it's on Prime if you want to, Amazon Prime or whatever if you want to watch it. But it kind of shows the wound and how bad it looked. It looked like you could almost see his bone. Like it was terrible.
We talked a good bit here about college football. We're not going to go do a top 5 or anything for NFL, but a little segment that Jamar did on a few episodes ago. I don't remember what episode it was exactly, but he kind of threw questions and stuff out there and kind of bounced them around. So I kind of want to do something like that. But before we do that, I do want to have everybody kind of give a brief little thing about how they're feeling about their own personal team for this year so far.
I'll be back in a minute.
What kind of establishment are you guys running here?
I'm not doing this.
You bring me on here to hurt my feelings?
Yeah.
I thought we were doing you a favor.
Yeah. So I'm not going to waste a whole time on mine.
Of course, you want to have this conversation.
Well, I think it's good.
49ers best team in the league.
Because I think that everybody knows the most about their own team. And honestly, I think that I'm not going to spend a lot of time on mine because we've done what we're supposed to so far. It is what it is. We haven't had our first huge test be this weekend against Dallas, but as far as every one of y'all's teams, you have huge storylines, and we'll get into that. And I'll kind of throw that out there to lead into y'all's into the teams. But just to touch on mine, so I can say that I was included. We're
podcast, dog. You do what you do.
We're undefeated right now. My team is the 49ers, for those who don't know. Purdy's played great so far. With his play, limiting turnovers and stuff, something that did hurt us with Garoppolo. and then just McCaffrey just flat out balling so far. It might be top of the MVP race for the year, in my own opinion. We're looking good so far. I think there's a lot of positive things, but I do think that this weekend we'll get to see how good we can be and just see Brock against a top defense that Dallas does have and a defense that we struggled with in the playoffs. So we'll get to see coming up what we got. I don't want to sit here and say, I mean, I of course picked us because I'm a homer. I'm going to pick us to win it all. But I do think we need to be battle tested a little more, as well as we just need to stay healthy, which that's every team. So I hate to start it off with this. We'll go to
who? Which one?
I was gonna say, I don't know.
I was trying to. I'm going to you. So. I'm going to you, Thomas, but I don't know how not to start it off. But to start it off with the fact that Burrow's struggled this year, injury problems. You start seeing some issues with Chase, and I don't think they're real locker room issues. I think you just caught somebody up in the heat of the moment after the game. But so far, Bengals, for me, has been the biggest. I don't want to say surprise, but they've what they have done so far. I think everybody they didn't expect. So, what do you feel like so far with your season? I mean, we're just a few weeks in, but how do you feel so far about your Bengals?
Yeah, I got a lot to say.
Boy.
So there's a few things. You talked about the Jamar Chase thing. I actually don't even think it was like a heat of the moment as much as it was just like them trying to act like he said something he didn't, honestly, because Jamar Chase, as he said, they didn't ask him about Joe Burrow. They asked him about, are you getting enough time to get open? Like that wasn't even really a knock on how Burrow's been playing. And he said, what's the truth is that he's always open. And if you watch every game for since he was walking, he's been open every play because nobody can guard him. So he was just telling the truth. When it comes to the play, it's surprising if you look at the roster coming into the season. It's not surprising, I think, if you know what's going on, because I think we need to sit Burrow, because what we're doing is we've eliminated half our playbook because he's taken every single snap. He is not taken from center. The only time he took one snap from center, I think he was a kneel going into halftime or something. Every single play is shotgun, so that's half our playbook out. He doesn't move. He can't leave the pocket, so he's sitting right in the pocket. And if you watch last game, for example, the first drive, he's picking apart the defense, driving all the way down the field like it's nothing. We don't get a touchdown because of a penalty, but he looks good. And then the Titans realize, he's not moving. Like, we'll just blitz the middle every single time. Yeah. And that's what they did. And we didn't do anything after that. It's just when you have a quarterback that can't leave the pocket and can't take a snap under center, that eliminates all of your explosive plays. He doesn't have time. Like, he can't create time to get players open. So it's not doing us any favors having him out there. We just need to let him get healthy.
Can you afford to sit him where you're at right now?
I think we have to. Yeah, I think we thought that it would give us putting a hurt Burrow out there would give us the best chance, but I think it's the opposite. I think we need a healthy Burrow after like week 5, or I guess that's next week. But we need a healthy Burrow in the long run. And right now, I think he's hurting us more than he's helping us. I think even if you put a backup out there like AJ McCarron, he's not going to do anything special, but at least he can move around, and change up the playbook a little bit.
Then
Mixon has looked better this year than last year, in my opinion. He's not getting as many touches as I would like to see, but I think he's running better. Our defense has been, I think, a surprise. Our DBs last game was not our best game, but our DBs have looked really solid.
You do have Arizona this week, I think, right?
Yeah, which I was looking forward to, but they've actually played pretty solid the last 2 weeks. So I'm not super excited for that, but I think we can still get a win. But yeah, something's got to change. I don't know what it is. Maybe we need to run the ball a lot more. Maybe we need to sit Burrow, but it's been hard to watch.
Well, like you said, opening up the playbook, allowing yourself to be able to call more plays with a stable quarterback is going to, I think, will change things.
Yeah.
More question marks. Maybe not as much as in a negative sense. As far as with the Colts, Jamar, I think you all have had some positive games so far, but you have things that I would say that you can look forward to. Richardson's playing great so far. For a rookie, I mean, I think he's playing great. Period. But then you also have Jonathan Taylor that's supposed to be playing this week. I don't know if he's going to be in an Indy uniform, or I guess you probably let us know about that. But what's your thoughts so far in your season?
A few plays here and there, and we could be 4-0. A few plays here and there, we could be 1-3 or 0-4. I mean, it's kind of like one of those seasons where it's not. We've been in every game we played, and kind of got lucky and pulled one out against Baltimore that we probably shouldn't have won. But got unlucky. I think we should have beat the Rams. I mean, it's just one of those things, I guess, where with the rookie quarterback, you kind of have growing pains, but he's played really well, I think, as far as what you expect. The downfield passing still not what I would have hoping it would be, but there are signs that he can do it. So with him, it's staying healthy because it seems like he's got banged up at least. I mean, he sit out because of concussion, but like there's been a few times where he'll have a limp coming up and stuff. And he finally started sliding this last week. They must have put a class on how to slide or something on his week off.
Different in the NFL.
Yeah, and but I mean the whole Taylor thing, it goes back and forth from week to week. It feels like what's going to happen. The word that came out today was that he would be at practice Wednesday. So, I mean, I don't know what that means. I mean, I guess if you got to come to practice, I don't know if it means you're going to play. I would think they would want to include him in a lot of reps and a lot of practices if they planned on trading him or him not being there, But at the same time, I don't know how that all works in the NFL. Like, can you? I mean, if they weren't going to play him, I don't think they'd even let him. They wouldn't want him coming around. Just let him hold off, work out until we can find out somebody to trade you for. But I kind of get the feeling that he's going to be playing. How hard he'll play, I think he's his type of person. If he plays, I think you'll get everything from him. Once he's on the field, I don't think he's not going to play hard. Regardless of all the trade, everything that's went on. But yeah, it could be that now, and by Friday it could be, he's not practicing, he's just a backup, or I don't know how it'll all happen. But I would imagine if he's going to play and be in practice, he's going to get the bulk of the carries if he's healthy. So we'll see how it goes. I mean, defense is playing great. They're better than I expected them to be with what they lost from last year. Line's holding up for the most part, which a lot of that's because we have a mobile quarterback now. It helps a lot. Hearing Thomas describe Burrow in the pocket has felt like my last couple of years in Indy. So I can relate to that. But yeah, I mean, it's one of those things like kind of like Logan's dealing with this year with the Panthers, like all the injuries. It feels like that's that's happened to us. We've had injury after injury. Ours were more like key people that we couldn't get, help get hurt instead of number wise. But it just feels like another year where it's like, oh, something else happened with the Jonathan Taylor thing. It wasn't an injury necessarily. It was he did get injured apparently, but it was also the contract dispute. So it's like, oh, here we go again, something else. I just we have a year where we've got everybody we want and see what happens. But I'm not disappointed with how we're playing. I wish we could have got that one. One Sunday, because that would have helped a lot staying through. 3-1. But I'm not disappointed. I mean, I didn't have really high expectations coming in, but I mean, it's just our division is not. I don't know that Jacksonville is the juggernaut to win that division. I thought they would be. I still think they'll probably win it down the stretch, but I don't think they're going to run away with it necessarily. Titans ain't great either, so I don't know. I mean, we'll see how it goes. I think if Taylor is there and healthy, I think it completely changes the dynamic that we have on offense. So, cross our fingers and hope.
I think there's a lot of positive things there. I mean, definitely all the things that you mentioned. And, you kind of mentioned injuries and stuff being a part of that. I guess a negative side of that. But I think it is a segue into, the Panthers this year. And I don't know if it's the fact that I don't want to say local, but maybe it's just the fact that we're friends on Twitter, Logan. But all I see on my Twitter right now is things about the Panthers, between injuries and then play calling concerns and then calling for the coach to be fired just a few weeks in. So give us a little bit of background on what's going on over in Charlotte right now. Well, yeah.
Well, it is bad.
It's hard to figure out where to start out.
Man,
you got so many things
speechless right now. That's how bad it is.
Of all people, you know it's bad.
That's when you know it's bad.
Yeah. Well, you like Jamar said, y'all hear me complain about it once a day, at least once a day with all these injuries and everything going on. Like it feels like they got training wheels on Bryce. The offense looked better under Dalton last week when Bryce was out, but I do think a lot of that was how bad the Seahawks secondary is. They're really banged up right now. But also it wasn't the same playbook. It seemed like it was two completely different offenses. I mean, you had guys running down the field taking deep shots, and with Bryce, they're just like, just throw it behind the line. Miles Sanders, let him dance a little bit, and then he'll fall down for a couple yards. This is year 5 of this being really, really bad stuff. It's been rough. I was to the point yesterday. I told you guys this in the group, but I mean it's pretty well documented how I like to watch football games, and basketball games and stuff. I'm stand up and to the left side of the TV, and I'm living and dying by every play. And fourth quarter yesterday, I just sat down and was like, I don't care anymore. This is just, it is what it is.
Defeated.
Yeah. We'll just leave it at that, I guess. You can ask me a follow-up question.
It's funny that you mentioned the Seahawks secondary because Daniel Jones is making them look like
they literally
the
just,
Legion of
as
Boom
you were saying
there.
that, they got a pick.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Well, they were terrible.
Jamar, while you were gone, he threw a 100-yard pick six too.
Oh my God!
Oh, we had one of those yesterday. Did y'all see that?
I did. 99 yards.
Sam Franklin. He was
he's
the guy.
It's gonna be like a fourth string, right?
He's a special teams ace. That's what they like to call that. If Xavier Woods wouldn't have gotten hurt, there's no way that happened because he just stoned.
Right.
Their defense is single-handedly, or Seahawks defense single-handedly had won me a game in one of my fantasy leagues tonight because they got 28 fantasy points.
Like I said, they had what's that corner they have? Woot.
Oh, they got Woot,
a really good one. Yeah, he was out.
Yeah,
they had another cornerback out.
Yeah,
and then
it doesn't matter when
you're
you're
also out.
Yeah,
doesn't matter when you're playing Daniel Jones. I guess
he got his. That's all that matters.
Yeah,
I think a lot of this is more about the D line and linebackers tonight that I've seen instead of the.
Yeah, I think they said 9 sacks.
Yeah, he's not. He's had a rough night.
9 sacks is.
So I do have one question before we go on to Rusty. I don't want to harp anymore. I don't want to harp too much about the Panthers.
Let me have it.
Yeah. So I think this tweet, I think you actually liked it, is why it came up on my timeline. But there was a play that was in question this past week that the response from the coach was, "I'm sorry, we have that play, and it's only designed for Thielen to run it." And so the tweet was questioning, why is it that a receiver that runs a 4.7 40 can only run this particular play and they can't get somebody else in there that could run it? So, I mean, is there a little backstory on that, or is that just a random tweet, or is that like something that's in the Panthers community right now?
Did you see where Thielen was when the play was called?
He wasn't in the game.
He was
right?
in the medical tent.
In the medical tent.
He wasn't even available to be in the game when the play was called. Now, why? I mean, Adam Thielen. I mean, like we all know how good of a route runner Adam Thielen was, but that was 7 years ago. Man's 35. He's almost older than Jamar.
Yeah.
I'm just kidding. I'm sorry.
Same age, I think. Be 35 or 30. Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Is he really 35?
I think he's 33. Maybe I was just exaggerating a little bit. I got to make a little lighthearted joke every once in a while to keep myself from jumping off a bridge.
Yeah.
But yeah, I really don't know. But that's what Frank said. He said that was a play designed for Adam.
Yeah.
And Adam was in medical tent when he called the play. So I don't know why Adam could only run that play. Like,
yeah, it's odd.
Maybe I don't know.
One quick thing before I go to Rusty, because I know we'll have a lot of stuff on that. But so far this year, are you still happy with Bryce Young over Stroud?
Yeah. Man, like I said, I've told y'all every week, Bryce is not the problem. I've told you, he's played 3 games. I've said it after every game. Bryce is not the problem in this team. The problem is the play calling has been atrocious. The offensive line, we had a guy last week that had a 0.0 pass blocking grade, and whatever,
it's not good.
That's I mean, it's literally laughable. And I don't even believe in PFF, but I believe that one because I watched it. There was a play in that game where one of the Seahawks defensive linemen, I don't remember what it was, Andy was under center. He took his 5-step drop back, and before he got to the end of his drop, that offensive lineman knocked him down because the defensive lineman pushed him into Andy.
Oh God!
It was a rough one.
That's not promising.
But yeah, I mean, CJ looked great. He's doing stuff that nobody other than Superman has done. So I mean, that's pretty impressive.
Yeah, definitely.
But yeah,
somebody forgot to tell the Texans they're not supposed to be very good this year.
Yeah, really.
I'm not sure why they're acting like that, but
at this point, the Bears are going to have the first and the second pick in the draft this year.
The Bears didn't disappoint anybody. They remember what they're supposed to be doing, though. And the Cardinals too. Somebody forgot to tell the Cardinals how bad they're supposed to be because they're not winning a lot of games, but they're playing with some of these teams they shouldn't be even be in the game with.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that the Bears in particular, that's one I'm going to touch on here after we get through with these. But I don't know if I want to say it's a surprise, but because Miami was playing great last year during the stretch before, Tua got concussed like 3 times or whatever it was.
First one was a back injury.
Okay, yeah. Back injury. I'm sorry about that. So now that Tua came to his senses after a whole off season, he's lighting it up. I mean, I know they lost against Buffalo this past week, but I think there's a lot of positive things there. Rusty, how do you feel about your team, your weapons that you have on offense, and the defense that's still a work in progress, it looks like?
Well, the defense is terrible. I mean, linebackers, Bradley Chubb has not showed up at all this year. We really need Jalen Ramsey back. And, we offensively, we've been really good. We kind of struggled a little bit against the Patriots. I mean, we looked good against the Chargers. We looked good against the Broncos, of course. I mean, put up 70 points. And then this past week, we just really could never get anything going. Our running game, was there. It was opened up. Couldn't get the ball to Tyreek at all. Couldn't get really the passing game going much because their line was just struggling, especially when Armstead was out. He got hurt in the second quarter, so once he was out, they were getting in the backfield like it was nothing, and Tua couldn't do nothing. He was getting sacked like crazy. So I'm hoping these next 2 weeks, because Armstead's going to be out for a couple weeks, I'm hoping by the time we play Philly week 6 or week 7, I think it is. Hopefully he'll be back, and hopefully Fangio can do something with that defense, because we're going to need it then. We play the Giants, and then we play, of course, the Panthers the week after that. So, I mean, I'm not too worried. Y'all were talking about Daniel Jones and how he's struggling tonight. I really don't think he's going to struggle as much next week. I still think we'll win. We're going to score points, but I don't think right now I mean, people were running all over us, and then we just can't do anything with a passing game either on the defensive side. So, we're really gonna have to do something. Something's gonna have to change on defense for us to be a real contender. I mean, offensively we're there, but defensive we're not.
Yeah, you're talking about Daniel Jones. He's actually I think it was 1-11 before tonight. I guess it'd be 1-12 if they're losing
Another sack.
on prime time. So yeah, if you
Double
don't have
digit
him on,
sacks.
if you don't have him on prime time, then yeah, he might be good.
You ball out.
You spoke with me a few times about how you grew up watching a lot of these games with Miami, and I know that you've not had a whole lot of good seasons. How does it feel now that I feel like, I'm not trying to say that you wasn't invested, but let's just be honest, a lot of us don't get as invested sometimes until we do have better teams. So I think that you have a lot of excitement this year. How does it feel to be invested in this team again?
I think I mentioned it to you the other day at work. You know, like from 08 to 2013, I didn't really miss a game. My brother pretty much was the one that got me watching the Dolphins, and every Sunday I was with him. So, I mean, he pretty much forced me to watch them, and it was like every year, it was just we'd win one, we'd lose 6, we'd win one, we'd lose another 3. And I mean, the amount of quarterbacks that we went through, I almost felt like I see what Logan's saying about the last 5 years. I mean, it's been a struggle. I mean, it was a struggle then, and it's kind of hard, especially being at that young. You're not really, you want to be invested, but every time you turn on the TV, your team just sucks. And we had Tannehill come in. We thought, okay, Tannehill's going to be, everybody thought Tannehill was going to be the guy, and then no, he wasn't. And then we had Philman come in. He was going to be the coach that was going to save us. No, was not. So finally, now we're actually at a point where, I'm excited to watch them now.
I wasn't
Well, go
laughing at
ahead,
you,
Jim
Rusty. They got another sack. It's 11 now for the Giants.
11
Terrible
sacks.
defense. I was just talking
That's
about.
crazy.
I'm not
Oh,
secondary
God,
may
I've
be
been-
suspect still. I'm not sure, but 11 sacks is probably not. They don't have any chances to
No.
suck or not.
The way you describe your quarterback situation over your span of being a Dolphins fan, I guess does kind of make sense why you wanted to put him in bubble wrap last year's playoffs and not play him.
Yeah.
That's not what he wanted. Let's be
Well, when
honest
you
here.
have J.J. Philly as a quarterback, yeah, it's kind of I don't know if y'all remember him, but he was pretty bad. He was our starting quarterback. And Chad
don't
Henne
know.
was trash. Chad Pennington was trash.
No,
Let's see,
listen.
Dante Culpepper was trash at his. I mean, he done okay the first year with the Dolphins, and then I mean, when I said okay, I mean he was. I mean, he won us maybe 7 games, but he was pretty trash.
Who else was trash? Keep going. Let's go.
Good Lord.
You're going to cause a lot of controversy because right now, calling somebody garbage is a big deal, according to Micah Parsons today. I don't know if y'all seen that, where Rodney Harrison called Zach Wilson garbage on live TV and tried to bait Chris Jones into responding to it. That's been a huge topic today. So
You can't call somebody garbage.
well, I guess the way he did it on live TV and tried to bait Chris Jones into it, everybody kind of came to the defense of Zach Wilson. Parsons had a huge segment on it today on his podcast. It's been everywhere.
You want to know the best way to not get called garbage?
Not be garbage. Yep.
Matt Moore.
Hey, he
Trash.
did that
We had Matt Moore too. Can confirm Matt Moore is trash.
Yeah.
Why would they call Zach
Is
Wilson
Zach Wilson-
garbage on the best game he's had all year?
I know. Yeah, he was actually awesome.
Well, that's why. I mean, that's what Chris Jones said, and that's what a few of the guys have said since then. I think it actually backfired on Rodney Harrison. He actually called Saleh up this morning and apologized to him, and I guess to Zach.
Oh my God.
That's not who Saleh wanted to hear from with an apology. It was head official, NFL officials probably. That's what he was wanting to hear from this morning.
Yeah.
I got a feeling because he was,
That was
mad
bad.
last night.
That was bad.
Yeah, it was bad.
All over Taylor Swift.
That's what Saleh said.
It's ridiculous.
Before we head out of here, I wanted to bounce around a few questions, and I don't know if you all have any that you had thought of. Mine are just pretty much typical stuff that we have seen so far during the year. I think it's pretty well documented and talked about the Bears' struggles. So I don't think that it's going to be any surprise that they're probably going to be the top 2 picks, thanks to the Panthers for allowing them to have another one. But if you had the top 2 picks, given the situation that they have right now, would you go? I mean, obviously they're going to go with Caleb Williams. I don't care if they do have Justin Fields. Nobody's going to pass up on Caleb in that number 1 spot. Would you go with a left tackle with Caleb Williams? Would you go with the top receiver with Caleb Williams? Or would you just try to spread it out and have one on defense, have one on offense? I already see you shaking your head, Logan. So what would you go with? And we'll bounce around with everybody.
Well, listen, we had this conversation several years ago when the Bengals took Chase, or not Chase, when they took Burrow, and then the next year it was, should they take Chase or should they take whatever the tackle was that year?
Hutchison, maybe?
No, he's a
tackle
defensive
number?
end.
Yeah.
Whoever was it Sewell maybe?
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
So
It
it
was
was
Panay,
either
yeah, it was Panay.
that you had the meme that was Burrow and then it was with Sewell and he was protected but nobody throw it to, or you take Chase and he's getting killed. And I was on team take Sewell, protect your investment. I was wrong. I'm not wrong very often. In case I know y'all know that. I was wrong on that one. You get the weapon, figure the rest of it out. If the quarterback's that good, you'll figure it out.
Yeah, I'm actually I'm on the opposite side. I think that I would go with the top edge rusher just because I can see, maybe it's just the Niner fan in me. I think that the defense is a big key. And if you can establish a great pass rush, as we have seen with like teams like the Bengals and some other teams as well, like Philly, that your defense can keep you in a lot of games while your quarterback gets his feet wet. I don't think the Bears are going to jump to being a playoff team or anything, but I think you go ahead while you're at it and get a top defensive player too. Thomas, Logan mentioned Chase, and so do you err on that same side? Go with the weapon.
I don't know. I think it's really dependent. I think it was a little bit different with our situation because Chase and Burrow were friends and teammates in college. And it was a lot about making Burrow happy along with giving him talent. Because I wanted Sewell as well, but I understood. I just wanted Burrow to be happy. That's really all I wanted. I want to be happy.
That's a true fan right there.
But
awesome.
yeah, I don't know. I think it really depends. I think it depends on who the players are. I think Harrison Jr. is special. Yeah, just like I think like Chase was special. Like I think those are guys that you don't pass up on. And same for Caleb Williams. I think if you have a good wide receiver quarterback connection to build on, I think that's more important. You got to think if you're bringing in a rookie quarterback, they brought in Justin Fields to garbage receivers, poorly statistic offensive weapons. And like we see how it turned out for Justin Fields, which you could argue like if it was more him or whatever. But I think you gotta for the future of your franchise quarterback, you have to surround him with weapons and good players and young good players to grow with. So
Yeah.
I think it's better to take the wide receiver with him.
I know,
What?
Jamar. I know you had wanted to. I know, Jamar. You had wanted the Colts to get Marvin Harrison Jr., but I'm just not sure that you all are going to end up being able to achieve that. If you was to say achieve, I mean, it's a good thing that you're not in that position because you all are, I think, overplaying what you. I don't want to say what you thought. I think you had some hopes too, but with what you had thought about Harrison Jr., I know you're pretty high on him. Do you think that he would pair up well with Caleb Williams, or would you go on the side of protection or defense?
Well, if you're going to go get Caleb Williams, I think you have to get. In their case, you're not. I'll go receiver just because he's mobile enough to kind of stay out of harm's way. If you had a less mobile quarterback, then I would say protect your investment and you can get a receiver in a couple of years because as a rookie, you're not probably expecting a whole lot anyway. So you're building instead of trying to go right in, especially with that team as bad as they are. My question is, is there any situation which the Bears have mishandled a couple of drafts here, I believe, in the last little bit. Could you all see them being stuck on saying that Justin Fields isn't the problem and maybe trading those picks for some protection and receivers?
I don't think so. Not now. I think they kind of made their bed with him.
I think you could trade away the second pick and get Caleb Williams, and then you're going to have a team that's wanting a Drake May or another top quarterback prospect. And I think you could have best of both worlds.
I just meant the way the Bears are as far as crazy stuff they've done lately. Yeah. Honestly, it wouldn't surprise me if they said, hey, we got a good enough quarterback. It's not his fault we suck right now. Let's go get some stuff around him. And I could see them doing something stupid enough as passing on him. I mean, you shouldn't, obviously. I'm in agreement with you all. But it wouldn't surprise me a bit if that's something the Bears tried to do.
Yeah.
Just their track record with the drafts here lately.
No,
that would be a bold strategy for sure.
Yeah, very. Rusty, just to finish up on this one, what do you think, if you as the manager of the Bears, what direction would you go? You want that top receiver, some protection, or maybe on the defensive side?
I would go if I get Caleb Williams and I get Marvin Harrison. I think if you're gonna get, I think Caleb Williams is a better overall quarterback than Justin Fields. Not that Justin Fields, he's not really had any. Chicago's not really put him up for success, especially this year. So, and it really wouldn't surprise me if they don't do something with the coaching staff that if Caleb Williams feels like he's gonna go to the Bears, then he may stay in college. And I read an article that he came out and said that if he doesn't like what he's seeing with the draft, that he would probably stay in. I don't see that happening. I mean, the money's just in the NFL, but he also makes good money in college and with the NIL deal. So money's probably not his top priority. I mean, he probably wants to go somewhere comfortable, but if they're going to get Caleb Williams, I would 100% get him Marvin Harrison Jr. because I think Marvin Harrison Jr. offensively is probably the most electrifying player in college football right now.
Yeah.
So
you made a really good point with the whole, him. I've seen that report, him talking about he might not go to the draft because of who's up there. But I think the Bears would be an ideal situation for him from the stand. I mean, the franchise has been a mess this year. But you look at, like, when you go in, the weapons you'd have. You're going to have DJ Moore, who was a great receiver. I'm sure Logan could talk on that. And you have Mooney, that's another solid receiver, and Marvin Harrison Jr., if they go in that direction. That's a heck of a receiving group for you to start your career off with.
I'd say Caleb Williams is living a very good life down there in Southern Cal. And I bet he ain't no hurry to go with no cold weather in Chicago. I hadn't thought about that, but I wouldn't be surprised a bit if he did that.
Yeah.
If he does, the Bears will be the
surprised if he-
number one pick again next year.
Especially if
Yeah.
the Bears don't get a new coaching staff. They've got to. I don't see how they keep what they've got going on right now.
Yeah, I think that's the biggest thing.
Yeah,
I
they need
wouldn't be
a.
surprised if you start seeing a lot of that, especially now with the NIL. I mean, because these guys are making good money. They were making good money before, but now they can talk about the good money that they're making. They don't want to go to a situation. Stay. Who cares?
Well, and Eli just refused to play for a team.
Yeah. Wow. When we do these questions, if any of y'all have one that you want to throw out there, just throw it out there. One of them that I had thought of, and I'm sure sounds like we've already touched on this a little bit, but I thought after last night, it kind of raised a question in my mind: is Zach Wilson worth saving? And to that, I mean, the question for me is he worth trying to work on this year, riding it out with him? Or do you go and get somebody? Now, when I say go and get somebody, the options are not very great. I think the only one that really pops out to me is Kirk Cousins. That's the one that's being floated around. But I guess it just depends on where Minnesota is here in a few weeks, if you can do that or if they'd be willing to trade him. I think Zach right now is their best option, given what's out there. Do I think that he's a great quarterback? No. Do I think that he is the right one for the team right now with what they can have? I think it is. I think he is. I think last night you've seen some positive signs. And the best thing that could have happened to Zach Wilson is what happened last night with everybody dogging him, because that rallies a team around a player. I want to say they're a leader. I'm not going to say they're a leader because he hasn't shown that yet. But it's still a teammate. And you want to come to the aid of your teammate. And you already see people that's not even on his team coming to the aid of him. So if that's somewhat of a rallying point for them to grow on and try to figure out, like, okay, let's make this work with the skill set that he has. And it was a big thing, I think, for his teammates to see him actually take accountability. Last year, he did not. I don't know if y'all remember that game. But last night, he had an opportunity to do it, and he did. And I think that some of them probably is like, oh, well, of course he's going to say that because he knows what happened last year. But they actually got video of him very emotional and saying, man, I cost us the game. And he's talking to a teammate, but, with cameras and stuff. That was I think a authentic reaction by him. So you can see, it's a lot to do with Aaron Rodgers. I think he has shown him how to be the player that he needs to be, at least when it comes to the locker room and all that. But I think for the team's success this year, I think he is the best option going forward. So I think he is worth saving, at least for right now. Jamar, what are your thoughts on this? With Zach Wilson,
I wouldn't give up much of anything to go get anybody else. I think you got to keep. You had such high hopes this year. You have to keep everything that you can together for next year. Unless you just want to move, like, completely be like, okay, well, let's go get somebody and not worry about Rodgers anymore. But I'm assuming he's going to play again. And I guess that's what they're going to assume is going to happen. But I don't think you're getting anybody that's going to get you there this year unless you have to give up more than what you're probably going to want to. I can't think of anybody out there that they can go get that somebody's going to give up. I mean, they're not. I don't know. They're not far away. I mean, they won, some games last year with Zach Wilson. And I think they're probably he's good enough this year. I think he'll win a couple more than he would have last year. But so it's not like you have to bring in an all pro to give you a good opportunity as good as that defense is. But yeah, I guess it just depends on what they'd want to give up. But I know NFL teams don't like looking forward to next year, but with Rodgers coming back and you're trying to run up, do this again, I wouldn't give up much of what I already have together there. But if opportunity presents itself, like I said, you don't need an all-pro. You need somebody to not lose games, and I think Wilson might be capable of that after watching him last night. But that could just be one of those lightning in the bottle situations too. He could be terrible next week. So I don't know.
Well, I mean, you mentioned Aaron Rodgers. There's rumors, I don't know how true it is, that he might want to come back and play this year after doing some dolphin therapy or however that was.
I seen that, and
that.
I think that was so far down the road that maybe the playoff thing, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And they're not going to make playoffs at the rate they're going. So
they are now.
I mean, yeah. So I don't know. I don't know what schedule's like. I don't see Zach Wilson winning enough games to get him in the playoffs in the AFC. But
yeah,
stranger things have happened, I guess. I mean, I don't know.
Yeah. Well, as far as somebody that's had to watch underwhelming quarterback play so far this year, Thomas, how do you feel so far about Zach Wilson?
I didn't know if that was going to be Thomas.
It's like a jab.
I know it's been constant. No, I guess I agree and disagree. Recency bias. He looked good last night. He looked god awful in every other game of his career so far.
Garbage.
So yeah. So the way I look at it, I agree and disagree on when you say he's the best option right now. I don't think he's the best option if you're looking at who's going to get you the most wins this year. If they could get Kirk Cousins, Kirk Cousins would get more wins. He would play a lot better than Zach Wilson, I believe. But when it comes down to you gave so much up for Aaron Rodgers, what do you have left? And if you give up even more for a team that's not going to win, they're not going to win without Aaron Rodgers, I don't think. So I think there are better players out there than Zach Wilson. I just don't think you should give up anything else. I think you need to keep all the assets that you have left, keep the team together, and just go for next year.
Hey, before you go on to somebody else, I forgot, but Wilson also, what did he win, 7 games last year? 8?
Might have been around that.
And that was without
I have to look.
the running back. He got hurt.
Yeah,
so,
Brees got hurt. Yeah. Still struggling.
So I would take
injuries,
that's another reason I would take my chances with Wilson is, you got that guy back. Yeah. You got any more options. And honestly, I'd call more running plays for him. If he gets hurt, he gets hurt. You're in the same boat. Like, kind of throw him out there. I used to be that way, but like,
sacrificial
I'm not gonna play next year anyway, so who cares? Tell him hey man, we think you can run the ball more. Like, maybe you don't slide as much as some other guys. I don't know.
Just take the hits, man.
Yeah, you're young. You're young. Get on whatever Aaron Rodgers is on. Yeah. We'll heal up faster. I don't know.
Get us that injury exemption.
Yeah.
Dolphin therapy. And kind of the point Thomas made, it would be good to get Kirk Cousins. To have him and Rodgers next year, they might raise some questions. But then, you're also kind of at that point wondering, is Rodgers going to come back if you're investing in Kirk Cousins? Logan, what do you, I know that it seems like you have a pretty good opinion on, or strong opinion on Wilson from, I seen your facial reactions. So what do you think about this so far?
I mean, we all know Aaron Rodgers is not like the greatest teammate ever. So this idea that he's taking Zach Wilson under his wing seems kind of ridiculous to me.
See, I think he is a really good teammate.
I thought, didn't he have some beef with Jordan Love, and wasn't he mad?
They're texting each other back and forth.
I think that's just a bunch of
before
media and rumor stuff. Because everything I've ever heard anybody of his teammates say about him, I've never heard anybody say bad about him. So,
well, maybe it's just the stigma that comes with that Green Bay quarterback position. Because whatever. But you don't want to give up anything to go get somebody. And when the lights go off and you got Kirk Cousins in prime time, is that really much better than Zach Wilson? Honestly.
In prime time, it's a good question.
And if they somehow do make the playoffs, you got to roll with Zach. You can't just put Aaron Rodgers in there if you somehow you go on a run.
No, I will 100%.
You dance with who brought you, boys.
No, get him out.
Really, I'm alone on that one.
Yeah, I think so.
In my opinion, you are. Yeah, I don't know.
You're
know what?
sure?
I think you're right, Logan. I
Oh,
believe. I
that's
think
God,
beautiful.
Oh my God!
I do.
Absolutely
Listen.
I really
beautiful.
do. Yeah.
I changed my
I
mind.
think if Zach gets you to the playoffs and you're on a run, I mean, and Aaron
Why would-
Rodgers is not, like with his injury, if he comes back in the playoffs, I mean, it's kind of skeptical. I mean, that's not something like for sure. He's not for sure going to come back and just win the Super Bowl. So at least you
Aaron
have
Rodgers gives you a
Zach,
better
who's
chance to win the Super Bowl than Zach Wilson will. I don't care who
Listen,
got him there.
coming off of what was supposed to be a season-ending injury,
Yeah.
he gives you a better
Yeah.
chance.
Yeah,
I just want
now
y'all
I
to-
will say this: if Zach Wilson
you-
takes them and wins the division, and they're that good, maybe not. But if if he barely gets you a wild card, then Aaron Rodgers 100%.
See, I
Yeah.
mean, Rusty don't get them right very often, but like
Maybe
good job,
still
Rusty.
even Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah,
I think
Oh,
with other quarterbacks,
chance.
maybe you continue to roll with Wilson, but Aaron Rodgers, we're talking about one of the greatest of all time. But
no
Yeah.
chance. You just throw him out there.
Yeah,
I just
y'all
wanna
wrong on
know-
this one. I think. Sorry.
Yeah,
No
I just
chance.
want
I
to
know that don't
know.
happen a lot. You said earlier, but
It
this
don't.
one maybe.
It don't.
I just want to know what the people in New York did to you two, because I'm telling you right now, around Christmas time, if you told a New York Jet fan that Aaron Rodgers is coming back, y'all are in the wild card, you're getting Aaron Rodgers back, that's like a huge Christmas present for him. And for then the coach to say, no, we're going to roll Zach Wilson, New York would burn down. I honestly think that MetLife Stadium would be raided and they would trash that place if you don't start Aaron Rodgers. Did you see that fan base the way it was that first night and the
Yeah,
excitement
for
they
3
had?
minutes, Cameron, and it was
I know, but
9/11.
I'm telling you. Now, I
That's
agree
what I
with
see.
Jamar
I
with
mean-
what he said. I think that if they win the division, it's a different story, but I don't see them doing that. Wild card, you're still up in the air. Your quarterback play is above average. There's no way they don't start him with the way the fan support is and everything, the investment that you put into him.
If they win enough games to get to the playoffs, it'll be a wild card, especially, which is how it's going to have to happen. It's not going to be because Zach Wilson got him. It's going to be because he handed it off in their defense, and so I mean,
Didn't you say if Zach Wilson went on a roll?
if
If he goes on a roll,
maybe
he's
if-
playing great.
maybe if he wins the division, but they're not going to win the division.
I mean, I see if the Jets' defense is winning their games and the Jets' offense isn't really, they're just up to base par maybe. Like they're scoring enough to be in the game and their defense is the one winning the games for them. Then yeah, I can see maybe putting Aaron Rodgers in there. I mean, you got really a whole lot to lose. But if Zach Wilson is playing good, yeah, I mean, I'm not gonna pull him out.
Okay, well that's not going to happen either. The defense.
I just can't imagine a world where Rusty and I agree. That's like the second time we've agreed tonight. This is disgusting.
I think I'm saying more that if they do make a playoffs, I don't think it's going to be because Zach Wilson's playing unbelievable. It's going to be because he's playing not terrible, and he's not beating them, and their defense
Well,
is
it's all
winning the
hypothetical
games.
because
So
the Jets ain't gonna go to the playoffs anyway.
they're going to beat you off.
No, they ain't.
well,
So are the
Well,
Panthers.
I will say I want to ask Cameron what in 2013 you were in a similar situation with Alex Smith in MVP conversations, doing great, gets hurt, Colin Kaepernick comes in, and then you guys decide to roll with Colin Kaepernick, and you were on Kaepernick's side rolling with Kaepernick. So
Yeah.
now you've switched. Is it because of Aaron Rodgers, or is it?
Well,
does it-
Alex Smith was playing at two things to that. One, Alex Smith was the established guy for a few years. So I think that we had enough evidence there. Not to say that he was a great option, but you knew what you was getting with him. So that's one thing. But two, Alex Smith was having a good year, like you mentioned. He was having a good year. So I that switch, I agreed with it at the time because it gave you that particular year anyway. With Kaepernick, it gave you another element to the offense with the running, and the down the field shot was better that year in particular. With Zach Wilson, this isn't a a guy that had already been established as the leader. He's not somebody so far that is playing even at a above average level. I mean, Alex Smith that year, we were 8-0, I think 7-0
Yeah.
when that happened. And that situation, Kaepernick came in and had a heck of a game on prime time. Like I said, and then what happened. But I think that's where the situation is a little bit different. I think if Zach Wilson was having a year or he could play at the level of Alex Smith right now, I think Jets fans would take that in a heartbeat. Because I don't think that Alex Smith is a bad quarterback. I just think that he didn't blow the lid off of an offense like we wanted that year.
Is he available?
Well, he had
I was
pretty rough surgery not long ago. I don't know if y'all remember that.
I thought you were talking about Kaepernick.
No, I was talking about Alex Smith.
Kaepernick is available.
I was
he's
gonna
ready.
say,
He is
very
ready.
available.
Man, he's not been in the league in 12 years.
Yeah, he's already been writing novels
He's
to him and everything else.
Working out
Yeah, I mean, is Nick Foles the best option other than Wilson?
Nick was who I thought, but I seen on Good Morning Football the other day that he isn't going to come back. They had already asked him, or not the Jets, but somebody had asked him, and he said he wasn't coming back. I don't know why.
The option is right. It's TB12.
He said no too.
Well, yeah, he said no too.
He's not coming back.
We could always go with Cam Newton. So.
That's what everybody else did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I take it back.
Try the truth. Do y'all have any questions you want to throw out there? I do have one more that's kind of a fun one, but do y'all have anything?
No,
I have
give
one,
us yours.
but I'm not going to ask it tonight because it's almost 12 o'clock.
I have a real quick question for Logan.
But the next time we get on here, I'll get you started.
And maybe even
Go
Thomas. But if you all worst case scenario and y'all are like finding yourselves halfway through the year, and it's like obvious you don't have a chance to make playoff, do y'all sit Burrow and Bryce for the rest of the year to let them play it out?
Go ahead, Thomas.
If Burrow's still hurt, I'm sitting him.
So he's got to be. There's no rushing back.
If he's 100, if he says he's 100%, he's not feeling any pain in his calf. I say go ahead and let him finish out the season, just because he's a competitor.
Yeah. But not like a hurry back thing. Like he has to be.
Yeah, if there's any kind of lingering pain at all, if he's 99% healthy, then I say sit him.
Is there a point you would say shut Bryce down, Logan, or
play him, get the rep?
Yeah, any rookie quarterback needs.
I just remember last year somebody wanted to not to play and they're down.
That's because he don't like to win.
So
he's so mad. He's so mad about that 70 bird.
I wanted to ask you all how y'all felt about that situation.
He's just clenching his fist.
This man had concussion after concussion. Did not want him to play. It's
back injury.
Really didn't want to have. I really didn't want to have to get Joey Harrington out of retirement to get him to play. He was trash too, by the way.
Well, we could always.
Was there a Miami quarterback other than Dan Marino that wasn't trash?
Yeah. No, it was Dan Marino.
Every one of them. Jay Cutler, trash.
No, don't talk about smoking Jay like that.
When he played for the Bears, he was there. Half decent, but when he played for the Dolphins, trash. Fitzpatrick, we could probably bring him out.
Don't you dare call him trash.
I ain't gonna call him trash, but
all right, Cameron, what's your question?
Well, I do want to say that I guess it's a good thing that if either one of you is running the team, I'm sure Tua would probably appreciate the way you would value his health, Rusty, compared to Jamar, the way he valued Zach Wilson's health.
If he dies, he dies.
Yeah, he dies.
He dies.
You're not going to once Aaron Rodgers done, I wouldn't imagine they're going to try to move forward with Zach Wilson as quarterback. So
he's got that great mentor, Aaron Rodgers. Now he's going to be a different guy.
Yeah,
let's find out.
He dies,
healed again.
Put him in a dark room somewhere. He'll be fine.
Well, I want to know what you're going to ask Cameron. We got to do it right now. We can't wait till next week. We got to do it.
I'm just going to bring up something about PFF. Didn't really have anything
We
specific.
got
I just wanted
6
to,
minutes to 2 hour
that's
mark, so go ahead and bring it up.
Oh,
We'll get
that's
into
a-
that's a long talk.
That's why I said we don't have time for that tonight.
yeah.
But we'll get into PFF because that'll, I'm sure.
What was you going to say,
Yeah, I'm
Cam?
excited.
Before
I'm
Uh,
excited for
I
that.
love a good.
So
fairy
just
tale.
one that's not really relevant as much to the season as it is just a
PFF.
general football question to close us out. I already mentioned to Thomas and Jamar before the episode started. They had kind of heard it, but Super Bowls. Every time, every year, teams are vying to get that Super Bowl in their city, in their stadium to bring in that money and stuff like that. But just scratch all that to the side as far as just trying to be fair. Do you think it should be a requirement that all the Super Bowls be played indoors? So I'll just say for me personally, I think the fan in me would like to see the elements. I think that's football to its core is the weather. I think that is part of it. I would say that if you ask me any year that we're not playing in the Super Bowl, I would say yes, let it be outside. If my team's playing in the Super Bowl, I'm probably going to want it to be indoors because I don't want any type of issues arising from snow or rain or anything like that. So, Logan, I mean, I think minus Rusty, everybody here has had their team playing the Super Bowl in their lifetime. So, what do you think about it, Logan?
Well, Rusty, he didn't have a chance to see his team play those trash quarterbacks.
Trash. Sound like Forky off a Toy Story. Trash.
I'm with you. I mean, it's football. When you think of football, you think of a downpour game or a game in the snow. I mean, but you're right. If it was, I'll say if it was my team, yeah, right. In that fairy tale land where PFF is real. The Panthers are good and they're in the Super Bowl. Yeah, I don't want any of the elements to, factor into the game. I want everything is perfect and controlled as you can get it.
Jamor, I think before the episode, I think you may have favored. Well, I think you might have been on the same boat as us. But what do you feel?
I mean, basically saying I can see why the intrigue of having the, of the variables, not knowing what's going to happen come into play. But I just feel like for the Super Bowl, it should be covered. If for no, also the playing, but for the fans also, like, I mean, you don't want, these people paying this much money to go to this game, and it's an experience too. Also, so if you're thinking about fans and all that, they're traveling there, and if it's some more example, it's going to be 20s. Like, how much of a? I mean, I'm sure diehards will still be just fine for going to that, but it's just a lot of money to pay to go get rained on or freeze to death. So I think that side of it, I think it should be covered, but I don't care about that as much as the on the field stuff. I just think year in, year out, make it a consistent thing. It needs to be in under a roof, but I get what you're saying though about the as a like an old school feel to it. Not knowing what's going to happen. Just, I mean, it's like baseball. Baseball plays all the majority of their year in warm weather, and then their biggest games are in the cold. So I mean, no difference there. So you could make the argument too. Let them play outside. So I mean, same thing, I guess.
Yeah, I think you had mentioned that the other day, and that's a very good point.
Mm-hmm.
Thomas, I mean, you're out of the group here. You're the last one of us four that has had a team in the Super Bowl. Then we'll get to Rusty because he hasn't had that experience yet. So it's kind of
he's used to waiting.
He doesn't want
it. But Thomas, how do you feel about that?
I take a stronger stance. Like, I don't really care about like the wanting to see the elements. Like, I don't even want to see it. Like, I just want to see good football. Same for turf versus grass fields. Like, whatever's best for the players produces the best product. That's what I think they need to put out there.
Not turf.
Yeah.
Not turf.
Right. Right. So, I don't. Yeah, I'm very strongly in favor of indoors, I guess is what I'm saying.
Okay. Rusty, if your team does make it here at some point,
20
how do you
quarterbacks
feel?
later, we'll make it.
Trash.
But
All right.
I think there should be no advantage. I mean, for either team. I think, if it was outdoors and it's snowing, the Eagles are going to have more of an advantage than, say, the 49ers. So I think if you put it indoors, I think it takes the advantage
Bad example.
away. Well, I mean,
Terrible.
We run the ball.
the only reason I said that is because I remember
Eagles in Miami would be a good example. Like
The
You
49ers,
had it.
I mean, it's the Sunshine, or not Sunshine State, but like, I mean, California is, I mean,
they are, but they
pretty
play
hot.
Rains a lot, though.
and they're running teams.
Snow and rain is a little different. The only reason I said that was because the Eagles played in that big snow bowl that one year. But my biggest thing is, Thomas touched on it a little bit, is the turf. I think that should be the number one thing that the NFL goes to is grass. I'm not a big fan of the turf. I think it just hinders players. So I think that's more important.
Can they get grass to grow at some of these indoor stadiums well enough to do that?
Well, they can put it in there.
Are you talking about billionaires? Of course they can get it to grow.
I just didn't know how that would work out. I mean, they got,
well, aren't they,
for the concerts
and
all the other stuff they do inside some of these venues.
They're doing the soccer, the World Cup or whatever. They're it's a turf stadium, but they're bringing in actual sod grass in and putting it down for them to play on. So that's available.
That's probably more for the ball, ain't it, than the players, though. So the ball has a more natural, so it don't scoot like it would on a baseball on natural turf. It don't bounce; it scoots at you. Is that more what that's about? To keep the ball naturally bouncing instead of sliding or whatever?
Maybe. But I'm just saying, I mean, it's possible. It's something they can do.
Yeah.
I do think it's interesting that you used us and Philly as your example when your team is the Sunshine State.
Yep.
Well, I mean, I was getting ready to say that y'all were the Sunshine State, and I was like, no, that's not right.
That's like, but I mean, in the office.
It is warm in California. I mean, it doesn't snow there, so that's the only reason I said that.
Yeah,
sorry, I had to
compared to Florida, when it snows so much in Florida, is that what you're talking about?
I picked a team that, I mean, it's pretty sunny there, so
just log off, dog. It's over.
Which team is it? Which stadium is it that has the roof that you can open or close?
We have one like that.
That's what I think Indy does.
The Falcons.
Falcons don't.
Falcons do, yeah.
Does Minnesota have one?
I think that
I think it was either Indy or Atlanta. Yeah, I think that's pretty great.
SoFi does, maybe.
No, SoFi don't either. SoFi just has. You do have like the outside like breeze and stuff, but it's almost like a canopy that goes over top of the stadium.
Oh, they can't retract it?
I think Atlanta. I'm pretty sure Atlanta's like a dome, kind of
like
open up the Caesar Superdome. I don't know.
I think I went to a concert when it was open one time.
For sure it does.
No, I might be wrong then. I know that I think Arizona and Indy.
It's weird looking.
Yeah, I know Arizona and Indy is the two that I thought of.
Doesn't Minnesota?
I think those are great.
Yeah.
Wasn't it their roof that like caved in?
Yeah, Minnesota.
Didn't they have a retractable roof that caved in?
Yeah. That would have been a good example for the snow team in
Florida.
Anyway, I think
Green Bay or anybody, but Philadelphia might. I mean, that's.
I think
Atlanta does open, by the way.
Does open. Okay.
It's Rusty for you.
He's right. Well, guys, it's been fun. I think that this actually went pretty smooth. I think when we talked about doing it, it's kind of hard with 5 people talking all at once, but I think we did a pretty good job bouncing around some topics, and hopefully anybody that's listening to this, they enjoy it, and y'all can kind of chime in when we start putting out the clips and some of our opinions. And
I know one thing that's getting clipped.
Yeah. Sorry, Rusty. It's all right. That's a lot. That and trash. So if there's some way that I can clip the Toy Story character saying trash with yours saying trash. But anyway.
Miami has had a lot of trash quarterbacks.
Yeah.
A lot.
We got
We've
that.
established it for sure.
We got that.
Cleo
but-
Lemon, trash.
They didn't like playing in
Heard
a snowy
him.
climate.
Yeah. Sunshine, yeah. Sunshine State down there. But yeah, again, thank y'all for coming on, and I guess we'll just go ahead and send it off. Again, thank you guys, and y'all, before I send it off, y'all have anything you want to say before I do close it out?
Y'all
I
go
want to
ahead.
say I love you, Rusty.
I love you too, Thomas.
Can't get behind
I'm
that.
glad you were here.
A lot of love going around, and we're proud
Any
to say that
any
we
regular fans of Porch Talk, me and Kim will be on later this week with our regular show for the high school picks and college picks and all that. So,
yeah. And before we head off, I do want to say a lot of love going around. I'm glad we brought Logan and Rusty together on a few issues. So, again, thank you guys, and God bless.
There's this.
Go Dogs.